Is your breakup permanent, or can it actually be saved? This is actually a really interesting question, and something that I've learned a lot about, actually, when it comes to being a breakup coach over the past, at this point, what's it been, like 12 years or so, since 2009. We're going to go into that, and we're going to go into how you can tell if your breakup is permanent or maybe just temporary. Hey there, it's Clay with modernlove.life. Today, again, we're talking about how to tell if your breakup is permanent or maybe just temporary. And a lot of times people would now expect me to just be like, well, hey, if it's been over 6 months, it's permanent. If they ended up in a rebound relationship, it's permanent. Or, if they still cry themselves to sleep over you, it's temporary. That's really not what this is about. Because I've been amazed by people over the years. I've been amazed by the clients that I've worked with. I've talked to people in, honestly, all kinds of different situations, probably just about anything that you could imagine. And, while they are telling me their story, I'm kind of putting it together in the back of my mind, and I'm thinking about stuff. I'm thinking like, oh, okay, like I don't know about that person. Sometimes after a call with someone, it's just like, okay, like good luck. I don't know if that's going to work out. I got some doubts. And sometimes it's like, okay, that sounds pretty good. But one thing that's been really interesting to me is over the years, there have been many people who have seemingly been in unworkable, impossible situations. And thank goodness I never told them that their situation was hopeless. Because, maybe a couple months or a year or so later, I'd get a follow-up email or something from them. And they'd say, hey, it's been a while. You remember me? Well, you know what? We worked it out. This is how it happened. And, guess what? Now we're going to get married this summer. Or now we're about to have our first child together. Or now we are going to travel the world. We're going to sell all of our stuff, and we're going to go move to somewhere in Africa and just volunteer and do something that's really important for both of us. Those are always the kinds of messages that, well, number one, they hit pretty close to the heart, because it's easy to get lost in the day-to-day stuff of running a business, uploading YouTube videos, accounting, fixing broken things on websites, blah, blah, blah. But when you get a little message like that, it's like, wow, okay, maybe I actually am making a dent in the universe here. That's pretty cool. It's also just taught me not to write off people, because people can make things work if they are committed enough to it. If they're committed enough to it, they can find a way to make things work, and they're not going to give up at the first sign of challenge or difficulty, right? That I think is probably the biggest differentiation between relationships that can be saved versus the ones that can't. There are going to be challenges along the way. You are going to face some challenges. Hate to say it, but it's true. People often think that the process of getting back together is just going to be this nice linear line upwards, right? And it'd be great if it was, meet up, have a good talk on the phone for a couple weeks, have another meet up. It's even better than the first one. Kiss at the end. Getting closer, meet up again. They say that they love you, all that stuff, and then, after a couple more weeks, you're back together, right? That would be great. That'd be wonderful. But for whatever reason, that's just not how it actually happens. How it actually happens is kind of this looping sort of roller coaster kind of thing, right? It's like, hey, met up. They told me they were in a rebound relationship, but then we also kissed at the same time. And then they told me that we shouldn't see each other anymore because they're really serious about the rebound, so we stopped talking. And then 3 weeks later, they came crying, telling me that they missed me and that they couldn't live without me. And then we got together, and then we slept together, but then they admitted that they were still at the rebound, and then they didn't know what to do. So then they said that they were just going to break up with the rebound, but then they also said they didn't want to be with me. And then, it's just like, okay, after like a month or two of that, it's like, and then we're back together, right? So you're going to have to be able to handle the challenges that come up. There are going to be challenges, right? You are going to have times when they say, hey, I don't want us to be in each other's lives anymore. Hey, I'm seeing someone else, or I don't think we can ever come back from the pain that I've gone through, or whatever it is, right? There's going to be challenges along the way. And if you give up when there are those challenges, obviously you're not going to be able to get back together. But if you have the tenacity to hold on through those challenges, then hey, you got a pretty good shot there. Now, of course, I don't want you to be naive either. I don't want you to just be hanging on for someone and nothing materializes, because there are people out there who just aren't going to be able to make up their mind, or I don't know, maybe they're a narcissist and they just get narcissistic supply, a little sugar high from thinking that you're longing after them or something like that, or maybe they just want to sleep around and manipulate you and use you or something for whatever, an emotional hit or a sexual hit or whatever. I don't want you to be naive either. And so that's why I really want you to notice if there's progress happening between you and them, or are you just sort of like treading water? If there's been a good chunk of time where the two of you should have seen some degree of progress, but instead you're just treading water, that's when, I would just tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, you still want to do this? Just as someone who cares about you, not as some, all-knowing, relationship seer or anything like that, but just as someone who's wanting to check in on you. Then, of course, you want to make the right choice for you at that point. If it makes sense for you and if it still seems interesting for you to pursue that, then go ahead and pursue it. But if not, if it's exhausting for you, it's okay to not pursue it. Or if you just don't even know, but you just feel worn out from it, then it's fine to just, take a break, to not make any decision and just say, okay, I'm just going to take a break for me, just refocus on filling up my own cup so that I'm not running dry. And then when you're feeling a little bit better, make the choice at that point. I don't know. That's a really important factor as well, too. By the way, if you like this video, please make sure you hit the thumbs up button for the old YouTube algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell as well too. And also, if you could help me out with my low self-esteem by dropping a nice comment as well too down below, just to let me know that you like these videos that I do, that would help immensely with the YouTube algorithm and also my self-esteem. When it comes to whether it's temporary or permanent, there's not a lot of clear-cut answers. Usually, it's going to revolve around you, more so than whether or not there's a third party, whether or not there's a rebound, whether or not there's a long distance thing involved, whether or not they say they hate your guts or not, right? It's gonna be about turning your attention inward and focusing in on yourself rather than looking at all of the external circumstances and using those to tell you, hey, is it looking pretty grim here or not? Because you are a huge factor in all of this. It's not just, okay, rebound check, long distance check, oh, it's hopeless. It's about so many things involving you as well. Like, do you have the ability to actually connect with someone? Do you have the ability to enforce boundaries? Do you have the ability to leverage an emotional connection? Do you have the capacity to look at yourself and how you're showing up in a moment with your way of being, with your energy? Or are you just so fixated and focused on the other person that you are just sort of like this ghost? Because those are huge factors. The easier it is to connect with you, the easier it is for people to see you, the easier it is for people to understand you and to feel you, the more likely someone's going to want to be in a relationship with you, whether that's your ex or whether that's someone else. And so it's really important that you learn how to open up, that you learn how to be vulnerable, that you learn how to share yourself, that you learn how to access so many of these deeper things. At least initially, people don't usually talk about when they're telling me their situation. It's always like, yeah, it's been this much time, and there's been this rebound, there's been this long distance thing, we had this conversation, there was this text message, there was all that. But it's rarely like, hey, I'm really learning how to open up emotionally, and our emotional connection's just gotten stronger because I've been able to be brave and share myself courageously. That's truly an impactful thing, and I don't want you to overlook that. In a lot of ways, it may even make all of the difference as to whether or not your breakup is temporary or permanent. Because what's actually going to bring people back together? What is it? Is it power? Is it just eliminating all other romantic options so you can be the last man on earth? No. What actually makes people want to commit to one another is an emotional connection. A powerful emotional connection that they feel when they're with someone else, that lets them know that you get me. You get me more than anyone else. You see me. You see me more than anyone else. And we have so much in common. And if you can have that emotional connection, then that's really the ultimate key that's going to unlock whether or not the two of you can make it. That's why on this channel we talk so much about the emotional connection. And if that is something that you do want to learn more about, and if you do want to learn how to have that emotional connection, I'd really recommend that you check out our course called the X Solution Program. You can find it over at modernlove.life/ESP or down below in the description box. Anyway, with that being said, thanks so much. Take care, and maybe think about checking out this video right over here. This has been Clay. I'll talk to you in the next video.